friends, welcome back. In this video I'm going to share with you a couple of quick appetizers that you can make for your Thanksgiving get together with your family and friends. We are going to be enjoying these tonight as we have our Friendsgiving tonight. By the time you see this video, you should have already seen the one where I do salads, and then the dessert one, which is already up on my YouTube channel. And so if you haven't seen either one of those, I will link that below. But let's get cooking and let me show you 3 quick appetizers that you can make for your family. All right, so for the first one, we've got 2 baking sheets. I am just going to, you want to cover them either with foil, parchment paper, wax paper, anything, just so these don't stick. But what we're going to be making first is bacon crackers. And we're going to start with these just because these take the longest to bake, which isn't terrible, but I usually do 2 sheets for them. Sometimes it'll go 2.5 sheets. We've got those set up, so we're going to set those aside. What you need for this is 1 package of club crackers. It can be store brand, name brand. It doesn't really matter which ones it is. The other things you're going to need is 1 pound of bacon. And again, it can be any brand. You just want to make sure it's a regular cut and not thick cut bacon. You need brown sugar and red pepper flakes. I just recently made these. This is a recipe from my grandmother. I don't even know where she got it. I just remember her making them one time. And I thought they were really, really good. And I have enjoyed making them ever since. But it's a really simple, easy thing. Let's go ahead and get the bacon open first. What you're going to do is you're going to cut this 1 pound of bacon into thirds. And the reason why you don't want thick cut bacon is because the bacon itself won't cook all the way through if it's thick cut bacon. So you definitely want to make sure it's just normal size, normal cut bacon. And we're just going to cut it into thirds. And I just basically make as many crackers as the 1 pound package of bacon will give me. There we go. It's not the sharpest knife, but it will work. Not really what this is meant for. All right, so now that we have that, we're just going to, I'm just going to slide it over just a touch. Take my cookie sheets. And we're gonna, if any break, just set them aside and don't worry about it. I do like to line up the pan, but not fully, because you'll see that you want a little bit of room to work with each cracker. And basically what we're creating is a candied bacon with just a little kick from the red pepper flakes. So you can use as little or as much as you want when it comes to the red pepper flake. Now, I made these recently for our son and daughter-in-law's baby shower, and they were a huge hit. My sister-in-law had already asked for the recipe because she's making it for her family for Thanksgiving as well. So definitely worth doing. So as you can see, the bacon fits completely over the cracker and it hangs over a little bit. That's okay, because bacon will shrink up a little bit when you bake it. This is why I like to cut it in thirds, because if you cut this too short, it will completely shrink. I've had bacon shrink completely under the cracker, so there's just bacon right here in the center. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these covered. So now that the bacon is on the crackers, I'm going to take some of my brown sugar and I'm going to put it in a bowl, and whatever I don't use, then I will just toss out, because obviously I have raw bacon on my hands. So I am just going to sprinkle like this onto each piece. I'm gonna dump out a little bit more just because I'll need more for the next batch. All right, and what you're gonna do is you're not gonna leave the brown sugar on just like that, because if you do, as you can kind of see, it's thick. It's going to not caramelize the bacon if it stays like that. So if you feel like you need to put a little bit more on, you can sprinkle some more. What you're gonna do is you're gonna go back to each piece and you're basically just going to rub, oh, I think I broke the cracker. Oh no, I didn't. You're going to rub the brown sugar onto the bacon itself and then just put it back down. You don't have to hold them to do it. I just wanted you guys to see it. So I'm gonna do that. But if you don't rub in the brown sugar and press it into the bacon, it'll clump, it'll stay clumpy, and then it'll be grainy and gritty. You want the fat from the bacon to melt the brown sugar and candy the bacon while it's baking. And these bake, right now my oven's preheating to 325 degrees. These will bake for about 20 to 25 minutes depending on your oven. If you go too high of a temperature, the bottom of the cracker will burn before the bacon is actually cooked all the way through. Now, I know there may be some people that might be a bit concerned because I'm using my fingers. The reason I'm doing that is, one, my hands are clean, so it's okay. Is also because if you're using a spoon or a spatula, there's going to be too much pressure onto the cracker and the cracker will break. And so this way I can kind of control how much pressure is going onto the bacon. And then the cracker underneath. Okay. From here, so you can see how most of the brown sugar is rubbed in. From here, you're just going to take red pepper flakes and just sprinkle on. And some will wind up having more than others. Do this actually. And then just sprinkle them. I just sprinkle them across the sheet and let them land where they will. And again, so some will have a bit more heat than others. And some will hardly have any. And then that's it. So we're going to repeat one more time and then pop these in the oven. That aren't like broken up pieces, just, you know. Okay. All right, so normally I would go through and do 1, 2, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Looks like about 16 pieces of bacon left. When I did this for the baby shower, we had almost 25, 26 people there. So I doubled this. So we're not going to do quite that many. So we're going to pop out 16 to 8, 12, 16. I'm going to see if I counted correctly on that. But if you're doing for a large party, then absolutely do 2 pounds of bacon, and that should give you 1 whole box of crackers. All right, second she's done, as you can see, not as many as the first. I'm gonna go ahead and get these into the oven. All right, so we're gonna cook those for 20 to 25 minutes. I started the timer at 20 minutes and then I'll check it and see. With every oven being a little different, it can vary on time. So while that's going in the oven, we're gonna work on the bruschetta next. The second appetizer, it's gonna be a bruschetta. And I have this crusty white baguette. This I got from Publix, but a lot of times I like to get them from Aldi's. So we're gonna pop this in the oven, and even though the oven's set at 325, that will be fine. We just need to warm it through and then kind of toast up the outside of it. And so we're gonna put it in there. We're gonna start it at 6 minutes and see how it does. And then once it's brown, we'll pull it out, let it cool, and then we'll slice it. But then I can show you just a couple other things for the bruschetta before we put this together. Let me set a timer for 6 minutes on that. So I like to do my bruschetta just a little differently. I like to do a garlic infused olive oil to brush on that, and I'll show you guys that in a little bit. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna put together the top for the bruschetta first, so those flavors, excuse me, can kind of marry together before we assemble, because we won't assemble this until probably about 30 minutes to an hour before our company arrives. So let's put this filling together, and then we will wait for that bread to come out. So here's what I like to do. I already have my tomatoes chopped. These are Roma tomatoes. I do like to use them the best out of all the tomatoes just because they're not as juicy, which is kind of what I want, because we're going to be adding in this garlic infused olive oil. Now normally I would just show you guys how to do this, but I have this and I had it left over from the baby shower, and it was freshly made for that. I actually made it and then we traveled with it. And so all you're going to do is take olive oil, put it in a saucepan, and on a very low temperature, you're going to throw in whole garlic cloves, and then you're going to just let it simmer on the lowest possible temperature you have for a couple of hours until the garlic actually looks cooked. Let me grab, okay, just so you can see it. You can see how, oh, hello, I dropped them, sorry. How soft and cooked down that they look. This is what you're looking for. And once you do, it has this wonderful garlic flavor. Now this does have to stay in the refrigerator until you're ready to use it. This is not something that can stay out at room temperature. It'll go rancid. But I like to put a tablespoon or so of oil in the tomato basil mixture, and the reason being is that just infuses more flavor. So we've got our tomatoes. Let's grab, actually let's do this. We're gonna add in a little bit, a pinch of salt. So probably no more than like maybe a quarter teaspoon. And this was 2 Roma tomatoes that I had chopped up, and I did them finer than what we did for the salad in the previous video, just because this is going to go onto little baguettes. I'm going to add in some fresh cracked black pepper. And we will be using this oil again to brush on top of the bread once it has cooled and we slice it up. So now we're going to add in some chopped basil. So when you're getting your basil, depending on the size of the leaves you have, you just pick the best looking ones. And you don't necessarily have to use all the basil that comes in the package. You can, of course, depending on how many people you're feeding. We are feeding a total of 6 tonight, so we won't need as much as what, you know, some people will actually need on Thanksgiving. So all you do is pick off the leaves. You don't have to wash these at all. You're going to take them and stack them from the largest ones, if you can, according to size, like this. and you're going to do a tight roll on your leaves, and then you're going to cut them. And this is, you know, giving it a fine chiffonade cut onto the basil. And then all we're going to do is take this and sprinkle it in here, and then we'll stir it around and see if we need to use the rest of it, though I don't think we will. But let's see. And what we'll do is we just hang on to the basil, and if we need more, we'll just get more. And so I'm not going to add any more garlic olive oil to this. I'm going to let this sit for a little while in the fridge, let those flavors kind of come together, and that garlic infused olive oil will infuse onto the basil, the tomatoes, and again we're going to brush the bread. So I will see you guys back in just a little while to assemble that, and we'll just, like I said, hang on to the rest of the basil. Okay, so the timer had just gone off, and so I decided to go ahead and come back on to show you guys. Got one of my bread towels to pull it out with, but this is 6 minutes is plenty at 325 to warm it through and just to crisp up the outside. You don't want it crazy crispy because you don't want it to be so hard that people can't chew it. So we're gonna let this cool, and then again I'll see you guys back in just a little bit when it comes time to assemble this and then to make the charcuterie board. Our bread has now cooled, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this up, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to store it in a bag until it's ready to have the garlic oil and then the tomato basil put on top, and then we're going to drizzle it with balsamic glaze that I bought at Aldi's. It's fantastic. And so we're going to go ahead and get this done, and the crackers are almost done. So what I will say about the crackers is I'm cooking them at 325. They are taking about, I think by the time it's done, it's going to be closer to like 35 to 40 minutes, which is fine because I don't really have a lot going on right now. So if you want to make it a little bit better, 25 minutes or so, go to 350. I just don't like to burn the bottom of my cracker, and every oven's a little bit different, and so you kind of just test it out. If you are a little bit pressed for time, do 350 for about 25 to 30 minutes. Maybe you'll want to check them, start checking them at 20, and then just do every 5-minute increments after that. But they are almost done, so while those are finishing up, we're going to go ahead and slice this bread up. All right, so what I'm going to do is just store everything into a plastic bag. I have my bread knife. I'm just going to go ahead and start slicing so I can show you guys about the size that I like to do the bruschetta at. So you can see the thickness that I'm cutting it at. So that's what I'm going to do, and then that way it winds up being not too much bread but not too thin where it crumbles. It's crunchy on the outside yet still tender, which is how we like to eat it. Okay, so we got it all done and bagged up, and this will help save time when it comes to assembling it as we get closer to company arrival. So that is all done, and now we just wait on the bacon crackers. Okay, so our crackers have come out of the oven, and as you can see, they are done. And so the reason why, let me grab it, these are really hot because I legit just pulled them out, so I don't want to pick up the cracker itself. But you can see they're not, it'd be helpful if I show it with the camera and not hold it up higher. Okay, so they're not burned. This is why I'd prefer to do low and slow, is it allows the bacon a chance to cook and caramelize, or candy even, and then the crackers not to get burnt. But I will say that the reason why I say rub is see how there's still some brown sugar right there? somebody bites into that, it's not as pleasant as if it's all caramelized on top. Candied, whichever words you want to use works the same. So we're gonna let these cool completely. And then we will put them in an airtight container, and these are good for about 3 days or so, maybe. They don't last as long, but they never last that long anyways, just because everybody loves them. So these are gonna cool for a while. The other sheet pan is out, and then the third appetizer is actually going to be a charcuterie board, and those just vary widely, excuse me, depending on how fancy you want to make it, how simple you want to make it, but that is not something I'm going to assemble until we get closer to the company coming. So I will be back in a little bit, and when it's time to put that together, I will show you guys how I'm going to use a variety of different things that I have around the house, or I did purchase a couple of things for the board. We're actually going to be doing 2 boards just because our friend, sorry, timer, is one of them is vegetarian, so I want to do things with meat, but I want to keep that on a separate board so that way stuff doesn't get near each other. She's pretty good about it. She's okay if it is all on the same board, but I like to be very respectful of the fact that she is a vegetarian, and just to kind of keep things separate so she doesn't have to worry at all. So I will see you guys back in just a little while. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and put together the bruschetta, and this is something that we did at the baby shower, which is take out all of the sliced pieces, and then I'm going to be topping it with the garlic oil. And what that does is it infuses even more of that garlic flavor onto the bread, and it also will crisp up the bread just enough to be able to hold up to the tomato basil mixture. This is why when I had it in the oven, I only wanted it in there for 6 minutes, so that way it would not get too crunchy and still stay soft, because we were going to be doing this step when we were ready for it. So we are probably about an hour or so out from company coming. So I'm getting this in the oven, and you bake it for about 5 minutes, and then you take it out and let it cool, and then from there you'll go ahead and start to assemble your bruschetta. And I just put it straight onto my serving tray. I opted not to put this on any type of cupcake line or anything. It was just easy enough for people to grab and go. And so I just used a fork and spread out the tomato basil mixture. Just, a lot of times the basil will get kind of caught up, so I just tried to evenly spread it out amongst all the toast points that we have. And then from there I'm going to go ahead and top it with the balsamic vinaigrette glaze that I have. It is really good, and you can probably buy it at just about almost any store and maybe a different variety of brands, but I get mine at Aldi's. So if you have an Aldi's near you, go check them out. It should be near the salad dressings. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and start my charcuterie boards, and the great thing about these is they can be very simple, or you can make them almost more complex, if you will, by adding in a variety of different things. I always like to do a block of cream cheese, and I'm using the very last bit of my homemade red pepper jelly that I have. I'm putting that on half, and on the other half I am topping it with cowboy candy that I had canned this year. The red pepper jelly was left over from last year's canning, and that was it. I'm going to have to add that into my list. I just don't know if I can get it done before Christmas time or not. So what I like to do is just do an assortment of sweet, salty, heat, just a variety of different things. I added in some green olives that were stuffed with jalapenos to give another heat element to it. You can use any type of cracker you want, any type of cheese. I also like to add some nuts. We had some cashews in the house, so I decided to do that. I did pick up this bag of chocolate peppermint pretzels, which I would highly recommend. They were so good. I also added in a goat cheese, a truffle goat cheese, excuse me, and it was really good. We love truffle. Just about anything. I would say almost everything, but sometimes they don't always hit the mark on it. But these cheeses were really good. So on this one, I also decided to add in these flip side crackers. I really like them. As you can see, my husband came in for taste testing because, again, we love truffle. So I kept this one pretty blank. Or no, I didn't fill it up as much as I should say, just because that was the non-meat one. And for the one that's going to have some meat, we purchased this Borzen truffle cheese, and oh my goodness, if you like truffles, I highly recommend you finding it and purchasing it. We had picked it up at our local Costco, and it was phenomenal. So to this platter, I've also added in some cheese curds, just some blocks of Colby Jack cheese, and then I'm adding in some fresh raspberries and salted sea salt caramels, I should say. And so again, you can do a variety of things. Again, there were only going to be 6 of us eating this tonight, and so I didn't go as big as I could have. And these wicked pickles that I'm putting on, or I should say wicked hula pickles, are really good. They've got a sweet and heat element to them. They've got pineapple in there. They're really good. And you can use just about anything you have to create these boards. Get as creative as you would like. And this is what I had done for our charcuterie board, and I decided just to add in the salami. I also had summer sausage and pepperoni, but I figured, you know what, I was running out of time. Our company was almost there, and so I was like, I will just do the salami, and that worked out perfectly. Everybody was content with that, and it wasn't an issue at all. I did decide to go ahead and cut up part of a cucumber to add a fresh element to the charcuterie board in addition to the raspberries, and this was a good hit. It just kind of cleanses the palate. And again, you could add in additional things like mandarin oranges, grapes, things like that. I had all of that in the house, but I literally just ran out of time to get it all together before our company came. So this is the final board. And then after this was done, I decided to go ahead, and I still had some pumpkin cake left over. If you've seen the dessert video already, the blueberry cobbler is gone, the pecan bars are gone, and now we did give away most of it to our neighbors or our friends. And so but this made an sheet cake if you had seen it. If you hadn't seen the video, I will link it down below. And so I decided to go ahead and cut the rest of this up and just put it on cupcake liners because it made it easier for people to grab and put it on their plate without getting their hands super dirty or making a mess. And so these were a hit as well, and they're so good. This is the one dessert I would highly recommend you making for Thanksgiving, but it was a great little addition to our evening. Okay, so you're going to quickly see what we had last night for our Friendsgiving. If you've seen the salad video already, then you will have seen this exact same ending. It's just a glimpse into what we enjoyed last night with our friends. We kept it super simple, and sometimes we will do this when we get together, is just do charcuterie boards and snacky style food. So this was great. So I just want to thank each and every one of you for watching the videos. If you haven't already, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch the videos that I create, and I hope that you make one of these recipes. You guys have a wonderful Thanksgiving.